afternoon. My role here now is to share a little bit of my story, and thank you so much to INSEAD for the privilege of being in such wonderful company. But also, my second objective here is to really push the theme of pressing for progress. Because I have to tell you, I'm personally very tired of being told that, I'm very tired of corporates, particularly doing the fixing women. We have to stop fixing women. Women are not the problem, okay? I will give you reasons why and logic and research behind this. My name is Christina Ioannidis. I'm standing in front of you, and you're probably, Dr. Linda, I'm one of your global citizens. I am Greek Venezuelan, cocktail, married to an Australian. Can't be more global than that. I live in the world's hub, Dubai, and I'm delighted to be here. I've been pressing for progress for a very, very long time. In fact, I think this was me. This was me when I was, I'm not going to say how many years ago, when I was 20-odd years old. In fact, yes, it was definitely my first phase. By the way, I've had more than 6 phases in my life. So yeah, you'll hear the stories around that. I was possibly one of the most ambitious people you could ever meet. I was head girl in my school. I didn't have to fill any forms, or my parents didn't have to do that. I was an overachiever in every single way. I got a distinction in my master's. Believe me, I wanted to get to the top. My ambition was to get to the top of Procter & Gamble or Unilever. I was very clear I wanted to be in fast-moving consumer groups. So I went into business. And lo and behold, what happened was that I was running. I was running and working really, really hard. Anybody here do the same thing? Show of hands? Yeah? We work really hard. We run the business. We're in there. In fact, we complete everything that very often the men start and then they don't actually complete. Okay? So we're busy doing all of this. We're in the grind, right? I lived in Athens, Madrid, London. So I was one of those global women, global citizens who wanted to really focus on her career, have that multinational experience, and really get to the top of business. But it was a grind. It was hard work. But I did something beautifully. I hid. Now, I would like to ask you, all the wonderful ladies who are in this room, how many of you are guilty deep down of thinking, I will let my work do the talking for me? Show of hands, please. Yes, I believe there's more hands that could have gone up, but we are 5 hours into the event, so you're probably very tired. Why? Because we are professional hiders, right? Men are out there networking. They're playing golf. They're doing all the great things in other cultures that involves alcohol. They're doing all the great things in terms of supporting each other. Us women say, no, we don't have time. I did this, by the way. And I hid. So I went from working in a very prominent FMCG company. Out of 2,500 applicants, they selected 8. I was one of those 8. They did a global search competition. And then from then, I went into work in a consultancy. I went from Madrid, Athens, and then I went to London. In this consultancy, I decided I'm going to focus on technology and moved into a tech consultancy. Okay? And I worked there, and then what I realized is that I'm not your average employee. All these changes happened in a space of 5 years. So not only am I global citizen, global mindset, I'm also probably the world's least employable person. Because my attitude to my career was, where is there an opportunity? Let me seek it out. Which doesn't fall with the traditional recruitment model of you've got to stay in an organization for a minimum of 5 years, right? So then I went into the technology business. How many here are from telecoms or IT? Show of hands. Yeah? Very male-dominated, right? Super male-dominated. And I had to last long hours on conference calls with engineers who were talking a completely different language. Okay? But what I realized was the reality of business is when, pardon my French, things go wrong. I was going to say something else, but I'm not going to say it. Something hits the fan. No. I'm respectful. We have only one person to turn around to, and it's ourselves. No one else is going to help us out. Because what happened to me is I got this whole notion of feeling overwhelmed, but then I got hit with double redundancy in 2 years. Because this was the time of the tech crisis, not the financial crisis. This was the dot-com bust. Do you remember this? Those who are a little bit older? Yes? When the time where internet businesses went out of business completely. They lost thousands, millions of people lost their jobs. It was horrible. And so what happened after that? I decided maybe this is a sign. If 1 year I get into a job, and the next year I'm made redundant, and another time it happens again, new job, redundancy again. Maybe someone's giving me a message. Quite clearly, I thought that was the case. So I'm from the school of hard knocks, and I think someone mentioned it earlier. There's only one road to human greatness, and that is, as Einstein says, through the school of hard knocks. That's when I realized, something in our lives is missing. And I only realized this when I went through this process myself. And the reality was, and this is what Anita Roddick said. Do you know Dame Anita Roddick? She was my mentor. Unfortunately, she passed away. She was the lady who founded the Body Shop. Extraordinary woman, and she said frustration is a great source of inspiration. And I completely agree with her. Why? Because when I went through all of this, I realized actually, perhaps the issue isn't so much with me. It's got to do with our environment. It's got to do with our cultures, the culture that we face within business. So I wrote a book, which is called Your Loss, How to Win Back Your Female Talent. This isn't a plug for women, by the way. It's a book that my co-author and I, who was a director of risk at Citi when the financial crisis hit in 2008, we wrote this book for men. It is not a self-help book for women. It is a book to enlighten men on what are the challenges that women face in corporations where there is systemic bias. There is unconscious bias, and there are decisions are made and behaviors are exhibited that are alien to women. We back this up by research. We actually calculated that for a company with 20,000 employees, the cost of losing the women in the upper echelons, when they get to the middle to the senior levels, can be up to £200 million. You heard it. Large businesses, when they lose their top women, £200 million. But the reality is that it's not just a leaking pipe, as it's called. And pardon me, I think that's a horrible metaphor. Horrible metaphor. The reality is that a lot of these women, and we've heard the stories this morning, including myself, they decide, they make a conscious choice to leave the corporate world. And their decision is, you know what, I will come back and I will be constructive and I will come into the economy. I will just do it as an entrepreneur. And that's the research that we did. We looked into what are the pull factors or the push factors and what are the pull factors into entrepreneurship. Guess what the number one issue was with women who answered our survey and also took our qualitative research? Give me one guess. What do you think is the one thing that pushes women out of corporates? One guess. Go on. Huh? Doubt. Doubt of what? Doubt of their own ability. Okay, what else? Number one, another one? Sexual harassment. Okay, next. When they have kids? Ooh, stereotype. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, keep going. All boys network. The number one thing, and I'm going to reveal it now, is I was not fulfilled in my role. Right? And so what tends to happen, and I'm really sorry if this, I hope this will resonate because it happened to me, and I'm delighted that the research that we did supported it. We go up the corporate path, we do the projects that interest us, but then we get to a point where actually we're just being pigeonholed. We want to try something else, but we're recognized as being the expert on blah, and we get stuck. Whereas the guys, oh yeah, I can go in there, I can do absolutely anything, right? And they help each other move into completely different areas that might be of interest to them. So that's one of the reasons when I talk to you about, I hate the issue around fixing women. Women don't have an issue. It's the fact that they're being managed in a way that to me is inappropriate. There could be more to be done, and we've got a whole model in the book about that. But secondly, we also as women, and that's one of the few areas that I will say we do need a little bit of encouragement. In fact, I believe in what Sarah said. We don't need empowerment, we need enablement. And this is why, Rana, I agree with you. Enablement. We need to refine our approach because the rules of business are different. Whether you're a woman or a man, they're written in completely different ways. So we need to find that spark. We need to find that passion because that's exactly what the research said to us. What is it that fulfills you? Is it the fact that you love diversity? I think the story, where was the story? Kay, you're over there. Is it the fact that you are an expert in teaching and encouraging people to move into a new range, in a new field? What is it? Find that spark. Set our path. Focus on it. Be unrelentless. What I didn't share with you is that after my second redundancy, when I went into entrepreneurship, I had an almighty failure. I opened a shop in Mayfair, London. Who's been to Mayfair? Show of hands. Quite a few people. Very expensive place, right? So I decided I'm going to focus on something I'm really passionate about, and 3 years down the line, it died. Run out of cash. I had to pay my employees on my credit cards. I was breaking the law, by the way, don't tell anyone. But I took the ethical approach, which is, it's not their fault. The buck stops with me because I'm the CEO of that business. My problem. I got to deal with it. But what I learned, the reality was I was living off credit cards. My husband was broke, so he couldn't help me. And so I think someone said, do you have a support system? Nuh-uh. Very often you don't have that support system. So you need to find a way to get yourself out of your hole. No one else is going to do that for you. And my big learning was, my mother said to me, and this is cultural, those who are from this region will appreciate this. My mother said to me, Christina, we can't tell people that your business failed. It just wouldn't be appropriate. Do you know what we'll do? We'll tell them that you sold it. So I'm on the phone. They're in Greece. And I said, sure, you can definitely do that. But you know what? I'm going to tell the rest of the world that it failed. Because it takes women like me to get up on a stage and say, you know what? I made that mistake. It was a royal mess up, to not use other French. But I learned the unwritten rules of business. And I really learned that we have to be strategic within our roles, not hide, and get out there. I was hiding in a basement in Mayfair when I had that business. I wasn't out there actually doing what I do best, which is engaging with customers and engaging with stakeholders. So this is my 3-point formula, which I believe women need to build for their own growth, if you like. I believe that women particularly need to focus on building their personal capital. What do you think that means? What does personal capital mean? Values. What was that? A brand. What else?
Knowledge, skills.
Knowledge, skills. Okay. Exercise. Piece of paper. Piece of paper, please. Out. Come on, ladies, you can do this. Piece of paper, pen. How much are you worth to your business? Write it down. How much are you worth? Now, the reason why I ask you this is, we're all working in business, we know the reality. You either make money, if you're in sales, marketing, etc., or you save money if you're in back office functions, right? Right or wrong? Huh? Or you spend it. With what objective, though? You either make money or you save money for the business, right? So I want you to quantify how much you're doing of either, depending on your role. Can you do that?
The percentage?
How much you actually either generate for the business in terms of sales, or how much you save the business. So it's either how much money do you bring in to the business, or how much money do you actually save the business? On a yearly basis, and then multiply that by the number of years you've been in business. Yeah? Have you done it?
Yeah.
Yes? What's that figure look like to you? Rana, I know you could do this with your eyes shut, so you did it earlier.
Saving is so much higher.
Saving is so much higher. Now, the next question from me to you is, how often do you tell people that?
Not enough.
Not enough. Yeah. Is that a comment or is that a... Yeah?
And I told my CEO that in 2018 I would make him more money than the CFO, and I got fired.
You got fired. Ooh, interesting. Let's come back to that because that's a really interesting point. But the reality is here, ladies, is that guys go out there and tell the rest of the world how good they are, and they put values next to it. Us women traditionally don't do that because we're not educated to consider ourselves an asset to a business. So when I say to you personal capital is the worth you have for the business and yourself. Because only when you know the value, do you see the value on the bottom left for you? Only when you know how much you're worth do you get that confidence of, you know what, I can really do this. So this is why I believe, again, in enablement. We also need to get out there and shout about our achievements. How many of us do this naturally? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not many hands going up. Are you still tired? The reality is it is a very common thing. Us women, as we said earlier, we hide. So we need to get out there and build our credibility. What is our USP, our unique selling point? And thirdly, we need to have our personal board of directors. This we call the mentoring mesh. This is the individuals who will support you despite your career transitions. My learning was when this happened to me, I had no idea. When the redundancies happened, the failure happened, I had no idea who was going to help me. I wish I knew then what I know now, which is build that board of directors. So that's why I firmly believe that it's all about building our personal capital. And capital, by the way, is all about the numbers, and the numbers count. I think it was Rana who said that this morning. So it's time for us to stand up. It's time for us to have a voice. And this is what I am personally passionate about. So in my company, which is called Aquitude, and you see that I'm the Chief Engagement Officer, not the CEO. Because I believe in engagement. So we help companies build engagement with their employees and their customers, the most important of their stakeholders. So we need to stand up. And we created Top of Our Game. Top of Our Game is a platform which is dedicated to this region, and Zaina has attended our event, which is all about helping women support each other. Unfortunately, we're going to have another debate on this. I have experienced women not helping each other in the corporate world. In the entrepreneurial world, we're very supportive, as Hetni supported Rana. So we need to actually help build not only the support systems, but we also help women showcase themselves. So if you go to the website, which is topofourgame.biz, you will see these amazing women who are game changers in male-dominated fields. And that's what it's about. Breaking the stereotype is all about making new connections. There is the fact that there are women out there who are doing amazing things, but like most of us, they hide. So I take it upon myself with my team to get them forward and to help them build that resilience, because they will have lemons thrown their way, they will have oranges, every vegetable on the planet, because that's the reality of life, right? And so we run the Female Majlis, which is the peer mentoring program or platform, where on a monthly basis we get women to do just that. Not only, as Sarah did this morning, do we help get women to vouch and pledge that they will support other women as well as themselves, we also get them to really sit down and think about how they can help other women in the room actively. Not just yakking, we're doing it. And this, for me, is what we need to be doing more. Action rather than words. And my apologies for this, because I'm there's a lot of women out there who are doing amazing things, but we need to build more of these types of formats or frameworks. I would be delighted if you were to join us in our Majlis through Top of Our Game. Now, these are my parting comments. Be enviable. If you're enviable, it means you're doing something right. Why? Because we do need to stand out. We do need to actually get people to push people outside of their own comfort zone and say, you know what? She is doing some amazing stuff. We have to bang our own drum. Culturally, we're never educated to do that. But then culturally, the rules are written very differently for us. So I will keep pressing for change, and I invite you to do so yourselves. These are my contact details. Any questions, I'm here for you.
Thank you, Christina. We can take one question in case there is any.
Are there any questions?
Hi, I'm Karishma. It was nice to listen to your story about how you went through. And basically, what I need to understand from you is, I know that in London, when you started up a business, you went under losses to credit payments and things like that. But how did you overcome it? Because I know there are people who go under depression.
Oh, yeah, I got that.
And the family doesn't support.
Yeah. I got depression, darling. I get to the point that people would speak to me and I would start crying. I have never, look at me. I'm always smiling. I had never had depression in my life. It was a stress. But you know, the thing that did get me through this, and I know this sounds like a bit like a cliche, it was sports. Because whilst I was going through all of this, and I maxed out the credit cards. Ladies, if I open my wallet, I have a fan of credit cards. Why? Because they helped me out when I really needed it. And I still believe in the power of credit, okay? Used intelligently. But when this was happening, I knew that I had to pull my socks up because my parents didn't have the financial capacity to help me. My husband, I told you, was broke. I love him, but like a good Australian, he's backpacking, for goodness sake. He was a backpacker. So he then didn't have much to his name. So the reality was, it was only me. Where are you, darling? It was only me. And sports was helping me because every single morning I would go for a walk. And this is the mindfulness piece that Nasreen talked about. I would focus on, what do I need to do? It was horrible because I had people taking me to court. I had fallen out with my business partner, like Sarah's example. I lost absolutely everything. And when you do that, by the way, this is when you realize who your true friends are. Yeah? So this is why I keep saying to you and to everyone I will ever meet, and even outside my grave, I think my gravestone will be, please build your own confidence, because no one else is going to help you. I'm sorry to sound negative.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Christina.